So the app router and React Server components were massive changes. Some developers absolutely love the new capabilities. Others have found it to be a bit over-engineered. Do you feel the rollout was premature? Are there lessons that Vercel learned about from the difficulties that people had with server components?
So definitely lots of lessons learned. I think what the team did super well is that they made it incremental adoption, right? So Pages router, which doesn't use RSC, is still maintained. I think it's been 4 years, something like that, right? Like it's been quite a while. So and so you can, in your app, do it route by route. I think I think in terms of lesson learned, the main lesson that was, I think, one in communication, I think it's still ongoing, right? Like there was a time when people were like, felt bad about putting use client into their components. It's like, why?
Yeah.
Like if you, it's actually required, right? Like if you want to make the thing interactive, you have to put it in, it's fine, right? I tell people, okay, if you want to migrate and you like Pages router, you can just put a function into your server component called get service at props and call it at the top of your page. And you have essentially the same framework as before, right? But you now have layouts and like all the goodies that people like the team put into app router. But you don't have to like embrace RC as a philosophy, right? And I think we we're actually seeing a lot of adoption of this type, and I think it's amazing, right? It's very similar, like I think where lessons learned were like app router actually still doesn't answer everything that you want to do in an application lifecycle, right? And so developers need to understand that, like in reality, you are going to use React Query in your app router app, right? Because app router doesn't give you another way of like real-time updating data, and that's cool, right? And I think the like in the framing in the on X, if you follow that too much, right? It's like people are talking about this as like super competitive and like whatever, right? And you have to make these choices, and you have to migrate away from your past things. And I think that's just almost always wrong, right? You can almost always use these things together, and you almost never need to migrate away from code you wrote in the past. I'd rather have people invest in making new things that are fun.
Yeah, it's a good heuristic to optimize for. On React, folks have mentioned before, there's been some talk of Vercel being too close to React core, essentially, putting some weight or influencing how React got all in on server components. How do you respond to those concerns? Were there any points where you worried about React plus Next roadmap diverging from what developers in the trenches wanted or wished for?
By the way, I feel like I don't, Vercel is the second major contributor to React. That must be better than having a single one, right? A single one that doesn't really, and I don't want to be too spicy, but does Meta care about React? It's one of the largest open source project in history, right? If you've ever heard a podcast with Mark Zuckerberg, and I've heard this actually a lot, where people ask him like, what are Meta's open source contributions that you're proud of? Have you ever heard him say React? No. He says
No.
Llama,